Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Pillars of Eternity with me, Dawn. Let's report our success to Lady Webb. And after that, we'll go to Caed Noir to rest and reset, and then to Dyrford for the next part of the main quest.
Greetings.
Excuse me, but I've been looking for you. You're the one who lifted the curse on Heritage Hill. My lady, who wishes to remain anonymous, has entrusted me with bringing you this pistol. It belonged to a dear friend of hers who is lost to the curse. Your part in reclaiming Heritage Hill, my lady wishes you to have it. Here, may it serve you well in battle. Thank you. She bows. You're quite welcome. St. Garam's Spark. Now, I must be off. Farewell. Alright, so it has plus 10 accuracy granted to an ally attacking the same target, plus 25% shock damage, 6 DR bypass, and minus 3 to critic damage multiplier. St. Garam was a priest of Helia, known for his mastery of the art of wordplay. It was said that he could shape the mood of a crowd with a single word, and find with cruel precision the most shocking turn of phrase with which to dismantle an opponent. One more whimsical daughter of the Deerwood had this pistol crafted in his honor. For the gun too, she said, could put an end to any debate.
Yeah.
Alright, on to Lady Webb.
How fares your search?
There's something I can tell you about the Leaden Key's operations.
Well, let's hear it.
The Ingwithan Tower in Heritage Hill contains an ancient machine that can control the flow of souls. The Leaden Key activated it.
This is troubling. That civilization seems to have known more about the mechanics of souls than anyone since. The Leaden Key was born in that period. It may be that Theos has full knowledge of their technology. The applications of this machine you speak of, I don't want to think about it. That isn't enough to take to the Duke, but we're close. Avar Wolfgren is a cautious man. He will want to know everything possible before being moved to action.
Huh?
Okay, one step closer. I'll take a quick trip home, rest up, sell some stuff, and then to Dyrford. I forget which project we were working on. Alright, so let's go to the craft hall. Check out that merchant as well.
Better indeed.
Sagani saunters over to you, stretching her legs. She holds a pouch of deer jerky in one hand. as she offers it as she takes a seat across from you. Itamak looks on hungrily. Long day. She bends one arm behind her head, reaching until you hear it pop. Just wanted to see how you're holding up. You seem to have a lot of long nights. Well enough, thanks. That's a relief. I was following an Adra bear before. I hate to find out that my situation had gotten worse. She folds her arms over her knees. Look, it's been a while since I had a hunting party. We're in this together now. And even if we're hunting for different things, we're still hunting together. She takes a hunk of dried meat from her pouch and bites a long strip from it. Itamak licks his lips as she tosses him the rest. I don't understand exactly what's happening to you, but I'll help you find Theus. Same as you're doing for me. Thanks, Agani.
Sure.
Hey, there's my hireling. I knew they were loitering around somewhere. I just never bothered tracking them down. The folded shirts feel soft and lightweight. Dried fruit, cured meat, and mixed nuts are sorted among the display case boxes.
Greetings.
Good tidings, my lord. Might interest you in anything. Offer supplies for the road. I'm sure you'll find many things of use to a hardy traveler such as yourself. Now let me see what you have. Probably nothing unique. But worth a look anyway. Oops.
Hmm.
Alright, so we have the curio
Sure.
shop to finish, so we can visit that next.
Looks a little healthier than before.
Alright. I need to hunker down on the interview process. Make it a little bit more stringent. My curio shop is complete.
Next time we get the chance, I'm buying you a pint. That means a lot, Adair. Oh, do you want one too? Sorry, I meant for Isselmere. I'll get you one too.
Alright, let's build the Artificer's Hall next. The Artificer's Hall stores novel contraptions. Rebuilding it will allow you to buy traps there and receive a mechanics bonus for resting at Bright Hollow. I heard these cowled folk. None of your own business, huh? There we go, Medrith. An elf idle's by the road, watching the village across the river. He nods as you approach. The cowled figure standing near him falls silent.
Good day to you.
Greetings, friend. A slow smile forms as he eyes you. I've heard of you. Word has it you've been busy in Defiance Bay. He draws closer. I'm busy too, and eager to finish my business and get back to the city. I say nothing. Strong and silent, eh? Just the kind of person I need to find her. Who? Haven't you heard? There's a murderer on the loose. Said to have gone mad with grief and strangled a dozen healthy children when her own was hollowborn. He nods at the figures with him. We come all the way from Defiance Bay to bring her to justice. So why are you standing around here? He nods across the river. She's hiding out in the village. We'd go in after her ourselves, but the problem is, she knows our faces. There's no telling what she'd do if she saw us coming. We'd like to avoid any further unnecessary bloodshed. He leans closer. Her name's Nefri. She's an Orlan. We want to get her out of town so that we can deal with her cleanly. She knows we're looking for her. But if someone were to convince her that it's safe to leave... Is this vigilante justice? I don't know if I want to agree to this, because once I agree to it, I don't have a choice. I'm not so sure about this. There's a strong hand on your shoulder. A mad woman like that is everybody's problem, friend. Just keep an eye out. If you come across her, remember what I told you. I promise I'll make it worth your while. I have a few questions for you. What is it? But what did Nefri do exactly? She's responsible for the murder of all those babies in Defiance Bay, remember? Terrible thing. We'll make her pay, alright.
Hail, traveler.
Well, any luck with Nefri? Well, since I've been standing here since the last question, no. Now remind me who I'm looking for. An Orlan woman named Nefri. I don't know exactly where in the village she is, but there aren't too many Orlans around here. I should get back to the search. Alright, so I didn't agree to it, and do whatever I want with that quest. But he did offer to make it worth my while, so we'll see.
Steady does it.
Slow and silent.
I shall be discreet.
Flames dance amidst scattered offerings. Keys, coins, and the tiny skulls of birds and mice are immersed in the melted and hardened wax. Alright, Kelby. I'll talk to Beadmar. No one trusts me with anything more than lighting candles.
Out with you! I already told you what... I'm sorry. I thought you were one of those ruffians.
The old man turns as you enter. His face is covered in bruises, and his lower lip is swollen. He stops and peers at you, squinting through a black eye. Someone has put this priest to the test, but not one nearly difficult enough, by my measure. An amateur's work.
How may I help you?
Gives you something between a smile and a wince. What happened to you?
I never saw their faces. Strange, hooded men asking about those ruins. Cleoban Relag. Most of the brigands who come through here asking about the ruins are looking for a few ancient trinkets. But these people knew the name, and they were in a hurry.
He hobbles over to the filmy window. He peers through the dirty glass.
They wanted to know where Cleoban Relag was. I tried to keep it from them, but I couldn't hold out forever. I don't know what they were up to, but it can't be good.
He carefully probes a patch of blue skin around his cheekbone, and he limps away from the window, shaking his head. Alec looks at you frowning. That does sound like the leaden key, doesn't it? The old priest nods politely. Is there something else I can help you with? Can you tell me where to find the ruins?
The Glanfathan tribe that guards the ruins will kill anyone who trespasses there. And they'll retaliate against us, too, if history is any indication. We've had too many fortune seekers stir up trouble of late. If I'm to tell you, I'll need to know your reason for wanting to go.
The old priest tugs on his beard and frowns. How is this the stoic option? Well, trust me, you're better off not knowing.
If you say so. Whatever goes on in the city nowadays is beyond me. You'll find Cleobon Relag here. Whatever trouble you find there, please end it quietly. And try to stay out of the ruins.
A weary sigh wheezes out of his throat. He pulls out a faded map and points to a spot in the woods. Tell me more about Dyrford. Folk here tend to keep to themselves, as they do in most towns this deep in the Dyrwood. They're suspicious of travelers. With all the brigands and refugees moving through this area, who can blame them? This is a temple of Bareth. What can you tell me about Bareth? Bareth is the most universal of all the gods. It oversees portals and cycles of all kinds, even life and death itself. Under Bareth, an ending is merely a passage to another beginning. Bareth has many representations across time and across cultures. Around the Dyrwood, you commonly see it depicted as the Pallid Knight, or the Usher. Glanfathans, however, know it as Bunin I NQ, and NQ I Bunin. Tell me about the Pallid Knight. She's one of the youngest manifestations of Bareth, but a familiar one nonetheless. Stories describe her as a gaunt knight in black armor with black eyes, black hair, and milk-pale skin. She demands an impossible toll from travelers who have tarried too long on her lord's road. Some challenge her only to slay themselves in the process. Who is the Usher? Kith have written stories, songs, and poems about the Usher for centuries. Sometimes he's folk, sometimes dwarf, and sometimes merely a walking skeleton. He never speaks, but he guides the way to death, and the next life. He also creates the circumstances for the wayward to stumble into their own graves. This is a lie. We have heard of Bunin I NQ and NQ I Bunin. I've never heard of Bunin I NQ and NQ I Bunin. It means life and death and life respectively. You see them as two skeletal figures, one male and one female. Explorers have found them carved opposite one another in doorways, but I know of no particular legends that speak of them. But thanks for the information. Of course, Bareth is once more widely worshipped in this area, but it is a silent god. He smiles sadly. These days, people find themselves in need of clearer answers. Well, farewell.
Light, flame, and sound. We'll keep to ourselves.
Nice and quiet.
A word traveler. Only require a moment.
Gods keep you.
The guard sighs with relief as he looks at you. What are the odds? Stuck in this backwater, I'll meet the famed champion of Defiance Bay. Bareth's will brings mercy today indeed. His demeanor grows serious. Perhaps you could help. I don't suppose you saw a young elven noblewoman on the road. I'm stuck in this wretched place with the rest of my unit until we find her. Who is she? Lady Alis. He bites his lip. She's the daughter of Lord Nestor Harrand, and she's gone missing. He sighs. Perhaps you could go speak with Lord Harrand at the end. Sorry, inn. Added a D to that. He'll be grateful for the assistance, and it could be the villagers will open up to you more than they have to us. But we'll see.
I wonder what this is.
Ready, Watcher. I'll take a look.
Huh?
The woman looks briefly through you, as if she doesn't know you're there. I'll be back to speak to her in a moment. Finish exploring the outskirts of the city first. Town, village, it's not a city. Oh, since she's sitting outside, we'll speak to her first, and then we'll worry about the interior of all these buildings.
Ugh, smells like my old hunting leathers.
Rigil's Couriery. It's hard to say. And Dina's Apothecary. This middle-aged peasant woman is dressed in a brown leather cloth draped down to her knees. Her hands are working at separating stringy, colorless vegetables in a pile before her, stripping the heads off the long fiber stems with a paring knife. She discards the stems one by one, placing the heads of the vegetables into a small cradle-like basket in front of her. She doesn't greet you as you approach. You're not sure if she even knows you're there. Excuse me. The woman doesn't respond. She keeps stripping the heads from the vegetables with a steady rhythm. She may be deaf. There's no indication she heard you. Study the woman. At first glance, she seems nothing more than a middle-aged woman, unremarkable, maybe less stern than the most. She seems more focused on the weaving in her lap than her surroundings. Yet you suddenly notice she's not stripping the vegetables before her any longer. She's weaving, and the vegetable pots are now missing. She still pays you no mind, her brown locks torn and snagged from lack of washing, like many of the townsfolk you've seen. There's a strange blur to her. Even the motions of her hands seem to be playing with threads that lack color, in a shape that lacks interest. It may be that she is half-minded, or deaf, but something feels wrong. As you watch, her knitting takes on an odd cadence, and you have a terrible suspicion that something lurks beneath what your eyes are showing you. Focus on the woman. Her brown hair is long, almost impossibly to the length of her hands. As you follow the streams of her locks downwards, the hair has become long and black, splitting off into threads of black and silver, and wrapping around her hands. She's forming a soul cradle with the threads, braiding a net in front of you. Each finger long and sharp like a series of knitting needles, almost hypnotic. The silver and black strands of her hair weave together, with silver predominating as a highlight, the black shadowing it. And suddenly you are calm. You're on a plateau, almost the height of a tower, several stories high. The plateau is like a table lying beneath a clear sky, and beneath the plateau, surrounding it in all directions, a forest, hazy with mist. Although whether it is actual mist, or distance, or recollection. Resting in the curve of a natural arch above you is a great copper bell, half again the size of a man, hanging at attention, as if looking down on you and the event unfolding before you. The plateau is soaked in the sun, and the rock beneath you is rough and warm. The sky forms a cradle around you. You feel different, not disembodied, but you feel your body. Your physical contours have changed along with the surroundings. You hear a soft series of chimes, like wind chimes. At the sound, the scene gains color and texture, as if the sound is beckoning you gently forth, filling your senses and thoughts, like mist rolling softly into a sealed chamber. And focus on the chimes. The chime coaxes you deeper into the memory, and you're certain it is a memory, a warm one. You're on the stone of the plateau, your knees in the warm texture of the ground, silver, white, shimmering like Adra. The plateau is formed of it, glistening in the sun. You can feel the heat on your skin, your wrists, and your hands. Your hands are in motion. Weaving, not thread, but gathering, tenderly moving along the first movements of Barrett's wheel. Your hands are wet. Your hands are upon the flesh of a newborn child, and you feel the crowning of a tiny head, turning in your grip, its head slick, wet from the womb. The hands you are wearing, inhabiting, have done this many times, and they are practiced and confident. You can feel distant pains in your own head as the head emerges, a stream of fluid from the womb helping the newborn slide forth, and a woman's labored breathing, crying out. Focus on the child, the movement of your hands. As your hands move, you hear the sound of chimes, clear, cutting through the haze of memory. You cannot see where they are coming from, but they are close. They are meant as comfort, of that you are certain. Draw the child forth, and coaxed by your hands, every movement causing the chimes to sound again. Almost eagerly, the child comes forth, and as it does, your hands are in motion, weaving, moving along the length of a soft, wet rope. No, an umbilical cord from the legs of the naked woman before you. You are holding a small child, still wet from the womb, before you. The child cries out, its cry full of life, full of soul, the ringing of chimes echoing in its thoughts, filling in with its welcome. The soul is blurred at the edges, as if you are viewing a soul from within a soul, but it is there. It is alive. The woman before you is weeping. At her first cry, her hands reach out for it. Surrender the child. You surrender the child to her, something you have done many times before. As your hands move, the chimes echo the movement, and you realize the chimes are hanging from cords on your wrists. Where once they echoed in the memory, they're now echoing in the child's mind as well. The chimes are intended to welcome the child, to be its first gentle greeting into the world, a soothing sound guided by the tender motions of your wrists. You're helping to weave its thoughts, its perceptions, and the experience. The experience. The woman laughs with a ragged joy, laughing from a parched throat. Her emotions seem soothed, but the physical demands of labor have left her exhausted. But the child is here. The child is safe. And all atop the plateau is peaceful, calm, distant, flattening out as the memory persists. Slowly pull back, retreat from the memory. With effort, the scene bleeds of color, and your mind becomes your own again. There is no pull, no anchor, yet the sound of chimes remains, as they existed in the memory. They sound here as well, and they are hanging from woven braids on the wrists of the woman before you. Even as your head is spinning from the touch of her mind, the sound of the chimes on her wrists is sharp and clear, as if coaxing you back to the real world. The woman still sits before you, but she's nothing like what you first saw. She's wearing black, shredded garments that drape over her form like streamers. Her hair has streaks of black and run through with silver. Her age is almost impossible to tell. She simply feels old, like a crumbled watchtower. As she lifts her head to face you, you see that her hair is draped across the front of her face like a veil. What you first saw of her was a mental glamour of some sort, unconscious, and you realize what you see is not what the world sees, and you're perhaps the first to see her true self. Still, you don't sense a threat in the realization. If anything, you feel a sense of relief from the figure. You can hear her thoughts, and she's glad to at last be seen. Who are you?
I am seen, but the eyes of others do not remember. You were the first to see me as I am, the call stripped aside.
There's a light touch on your mind, a caress. Her left hand mirrors the motion of the touch, reaching up to the air between you. You hear the chime on her wrist sound softly. Her hand moves as if pantomiming, resting on your cheek at a distance. And she speaks softly and slowly.
Your memories. A cadence of wheels on a caravan track. Fever. Questions by running water. Violence in a night's campfire. Arrows in the dark. And fleeing. Falling rock and cracking stone. And a storm. The storm.
She swallows, and the chime sounds as her hand shakes. She stops, her hand frozen in the air.
The storm that brushed you. Did its screaming wake you from your mind's cradle? Your memory of it is painful. Its cry is difficult to ignore. It's like a child. Many children crying out.
The question seems to be for both of you. I encountered a be awake, yes, and it did something to me. Her hand withdraws shyly, the chime sounding softly once again. The woman stands uncertainly, as if she had been sitting for some time, or is too weak to bear her own weight. You notice her cheekbones are tight, her face gaunt. While her stance is weak, she seems determined to stand before you.
You are able to see me.
It is almost a question. You suddenly realize she doesn't seem to know what you saw when you looked at her, the image on the plateau. Yet the image was so clear, so sharp, you're surprised she didn't feel you there.
To see me is a rare gift, a watcher's gift.
Well, that's interesting. I've never been able to do that with a living person, except with you.
So many questions, thoughts, whirling like storm winds. That storm still roars through you, deep beneath your thoughts, yet muted and secret, like an underground river. I cannot tell if it is carving new channels, or eroding what keeps your true strength buried. The fact that you could hear it at all, survive it, is something few have ever done. Your power will grow stronger with each soul you touch, as it allowed you to reach out to mine.
There is a silence, although it seems to last for but a heartbeat. In your thoughts, it stretches out between the two of you, like a pull between your minds. You blink, take a breath, and then you realize she wants to ask you a question, yet can't form the words, as if assembling them is painful, or there simply are not enough pieces. Assemble the thought. You wish to travel with me. You feel a wave of fear, gusted with the strength of relief, although oddly, her expression does not change. Then fear dissipates, and you feel strength and certainty, as if the plateau from her memory lies beneath you, and a calm sky looks down upon you.
Farewell.
Hi, goodbye, Sagani. Welcome, Grieving Mother. Okay. I have a new companion. I knew she was a companion. It's been years since the game came out. So I didn't know the name of all the companions. I don't know anything about her, though. Alright, she's a cipher. Okay, so we'll take a look at her class and level her up in the next episode, and then continue exploring the Dyrwood, or Dyrford, which is in the Dyrwood, so we're still exploring the Dyrwood. I wasn't wrong, okay? But for now, I'm going to call it here. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one.